The following podcast is brought to you by Cast Content Media.
Hey guys, it's Ron Worley, your most imperfect host of Sons of Ditches. People are liars, thieves, addicts, and assholes. Some people change, and a few make a difference. But everyone has a story.
Hey everybody, it's Ron Worley with another episode of Sons of Ditches. This week we have a very special guest, also a guest in our home. And you know, Rashelle, I can't even remember your last name.
Marzloff.
Marzloff, that's right. I just blanked.
It's a hard one.
It is. So Rashelle used to work for us at Max Muscle. That's basically how we met each other.
Yep.
She was extremely vibrant to the room when we met her, outgoing, very cute, had the whole marketing thing down. But what was really special about her is that she worked on the pipelines. You were a welder. Welder helper. Right. And so she's got an incredible story. I want to get into it, and I want to just hopefully your story can help some others. So by the way, guys, we're in my house just chilling, and there may be a couple of kids running around or something, just so you know. We're going to deal with it. I'm not going to edit. Okay. So let's just get right into it.
Okay.
Fair enough?
Yep. Let's do it.
So what I know from Facebook and all that is that, and you told us your story last night. So you left here, ended up in Texas, correct?
Yes. So pipelined here, went to Texas, went all over, but was in Texas for a while, for about a couple years, Stephenville, Canton, Baytown, and then did a bunch of jobs. Was pipelining, worked for Cutting Horse Ranch, one of my buddies' construction businesses, welding up docks, and worked at a couple restaurants, just, make ends meet. Yeah.
And at this time, you didn't have any kids, correct?
No, I did not. I didn't. Kason was born in 2017. So this was like pre-mom, all that stuff. So
the thing we're going to lead up to is the fact that you actually found yourself in a position, like a lot of women,
yes,
where older men were hitting on you, some weird things.
Yes.
So not even sugar daddies really, but kind of.
Well, yeah, and I was so naive in this time period that I had no idea of what was happening until it got to the point of being like I was invested in a job, and then it being too late to like I was already there, my truck was already there. I didn't have a lot of money. I was trying to, get things together, get things happening. And then all of a sudden this guy's hitting on me, and now my job's in jeopardy. So then, I suck it up for a little bit, and but they start making, oh, you don't want to date me. You don't want to do this with me. Well, I'm going to make your life a living hell until you leave.
That is so cliche of men, right?
Yeah.
That's what you see it on every TV show, every movie.
I just never thought I would experience it. You always think of the opposite though, from a girl's perspective, you think of the guy, oh, he's going to fall in love with a guy in maybe my age group. You go work with someone and you get this happy love story from him. And I was like, where's the good guys, where this can happen? Let's get one of those rolling.
Someone my age.
At least.
60-year-old man.
No.
Nothing wrong with 60-year-olds, but you should be dating at least a 50-year-old.
I was 22 at this time period. So it was a massive age difference.
Oh, but he had a chance.
Yeah, they tried.
So your life has 2 or 3 of those for sure. And every time the job goes in jeopardy and man, you lose your job and you have to move on to
and restarting. And I really didn't mind it. It just always sucked in the moment of and then that struggle of okay, now I have nothing. Where do I go now?
Yeah.
And then anxiety of calling everyone, pipeliners that I worked with and hey, do you guys have a job? Do you have a job? And then job searching, all the restaurants, everything, who has an opening position. And so it's it was really exhausting. Yeah. And just in that time period. And I was not even now I'm more tired, but back then I was really tired from just that. Now I wow, that was almost building me up to give me strength for what I've been going through now.
Yeah, for sure. So you're bringing it up kind of, so let's just get right into that. So this happens to you. It's super annoying. You're losing your jobs. You're bouncing around. you end up with a gentleman, use that word really loosely.
Yeah.
And you guys get pregnant.
Yes. So we got engaged when I was pregnant. And then it was like a light switch and his personality completely flip-flopped. I had heard a couple of things, but like his stories were just beautifully painted. But right when I was like, yeah, we're pregnant, and that like, as I told him, like I had a recording of it and I looked back on it like just last year when I was getting the protective order, and I looked back at that video and you can like see it, like it was it's the switch happened. And then at 12 weeks pregnant was like one of the worst ones. And I never understood women not leaving abusive situations, but I am one of them. I went back, left, went back, left, went back. And then it took finding out about drugs and him cheating on me with multiple women and like the selling of drugs and him using them, that I was finally like, okay, I need to go get my stuff.
Yeah. So this man literally beat the shit out of you a few times.
And it was cops were, you call them and then someone has to be in trouble for it. And it was the camper, like we lived in a camper, we lived in an RV park and all that stuff. And that it was in his name. So I was always the one that would go find the hotel, even though I'm the ones that had marks on me. I didn't fight back. I was usually the one that was trying to calm that bear down. Yeah. And it was just a really awful situation. And then there was usually kids, like he has older children. We have a child together, and then he has two older ones from two different ladies as well and whatnot. So it was a really awful situation. But now I understand. Yes, child. So we got kind of cut off. But.
Yeah. So just so you guys know, we have her son Kason downstairs, and he's watching TV, and of course, mommy. It's cute. He's a really good kid. All right. So he's beating the hell out of you every other day, and you're just like dealing with this stuff, and the cops aren't doing it.
Well, and then it was a cycle too. So like the cops aren't really doing anything, but I'm staying. So then we're getting like, I call in and they're like, okay, didn't we just deal with you last week?
Right.
And like, I wasn't leaving because when you're dealing with certain people like that, it's like a love cycle, like a love bombing cycle. So then you're getting in like, well, I didn't mean to. And I love you so much. I'm so sorry. I'll never do it again. And you believe them because I'm starting wanting a family with him.
Right.
So then we get into the cycle and then we're going, and then it happens again. Oh, same story, same cycle. And then after a while, I realized it wasn't going to change. And I got into some domestic violence survivor group, and that was eye-opening.
Yeah, you were seeing other people going through it.
Yeah, and then finally I wasn't crazy anymore. Like all the stuff he like crazy made me feel bad about. Like it was my fault that he was beating me up. It was my fault that like my brain was feeling like it was going to explode. All of these women were dealing with the same thing, the same feelings, and we like our stories were so similar but so different. Like the cycle was the same.
So you keep calling that cycle the cycle of love, but when I was taught this cycle, it's the cycle of abuse.
Oh, well, yeah, the cycle of abuse, completely.
Part in there that's love.
Yes. And so then, but that's the love part is what you hold on to.
Right.
Like that's the part you're like, well, he's so sweet. He's so loving for like that couple days.
Sliver.
Yeah, that little sliver. And that makes it worth all of that other abuse.
Which is just bullshit.
Yeah. And it never goes away.
Right. And it takes a lot for them to change. So it's not like, they always say they're going to change, but especially when they're using drugs, they're not going to change.
No. And like, you can be clean and a couple months later, lose that. And
so just so everybody out there knows, she lived in a camper because they are working remotely everywhere. Like, it's not like we're talking about trailer trash people that, you know what I mean?
And there's a stigma around that.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
You guys did it because that's how you worked.
So he was a pipeliner too. Yeah. And so we just traveled all over. I actually never helped him. He was a welder. I never helped him. But I lived in campers for like 5 years on and off. My welders usually had a camper with a bunk room. The bunk room was mine. It helped me save money on not having to go get a hotel myself, where I was able to save some money up. Because when you're a helper, it's good money, but like at the end of the day, it starts to wash out when you're paying for a hotel because you're living in a hotel. So then you have to go buy food, you're paying for laundry. And so then you just
Goes away.
Yeah,
Yep.
you're basically working a minimum wage job
Yeah.
at that point. But I loved the work. So even if I had to get a hotel, it was totally worth it because I just loved it was like a family that like everyone got so close and you had each other's back and felt like all these guys were like protecting me from like the world in a sense.
Sure, you got a little family.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I love it. And so, and the reason I brought that up with the whole trailer trash scenario, because when you went to go get help, now so let me back up a little bit. Now you're getting your ass beat. You got to get out of the house and nowhere to go, no job, no nothing. And you're 12 weeks pregnant.
Yeah. Well, so I didn't actually officially leave until I was about 28 weeks.
Okay.
So it was on and off for a while. And then he abandoned me for 2 months in California at my mom's house. And this is when he stole like thousands of dollars from me and jewelry, shampoo, like just some of the weirdest stuff. And I'm sure it was for meth.
Yeah, it's for this habit. So, and I'm going to say this, but not to like, I mean no disrespect. You left money in your house when you left.
Yeah, I didn't think about it.
Yeah, you are a bit naive.
Yeah, I totally am. Like I left it in my sock drawer. Like just didn't even think that he would go through my stuff. Like
that's the first thing he did when you left.
Oh, totally. And he didn't know about it either. So he definitely went looking, which everyone hides stuff in their sock drawer. So like I should have been like,
should have known.
I should have known.
And definitely the second you left, his girlfriend came over.
Oh, definitely. And then he didn't talk to me. So this is when it got really crazy and very naive still at this point. He didn't talk to me for 48 hours and I thought he was dead. I thought he like got in a car accident, like dead in a ditch. And I went into this Facebook group. It was like, it's like called Baytown Watchers or something like that. And they all started harassing me for looking for him. They started being like, well, he probably cheated on you for reasons, probably using drugs for a reason. Like you sound, and like, I'm pregnant and just like horrified. Like I really thought he was hurt. And then all these people are saying all these things. And I'm like, and then people are saying, oh, we saw him at a strip club. Oh, we saw him there. And I'm like, then they started like basically trolling me.
Right.
But I actually got a really good friend out of that group who we actually just saw her in Texas like a month ago. Okay. And she really helped me through. She was like, you were genuinely so kind to these people were like picking on you and you were just kindness. And that's just part of my personality, like, kill them with kindness. Yeah. Like, why lower myself? Like, they don't know what's going on. I'm trying to read between like all the comments to see if anyone has seen, his truck crashed around or in the parking lot. And then they made their own Facebook group that said where in the world is, and then had his name. Shit. And it became like this overnight sensation. And it was awful for me.
Yes. Yeah. I'm sorry to laugh, but that was fucking funny.
Now I look back and then I'm like, wow, people really took the time just to make fun of us. Right. Like they were making like stickers for their vehicles in Baytown. And I'm like, oh, alrighty then.
That is so weird.
But again, and there was a lot more, like his ex-girlfriends were getting added into the group and standing up for him and his family. But then you get to the point where this is where people enable. Right. Until you really date someone, you really don't know how they are behind those closed doors. Family can't even know how they are behind closed doors. And that was like, that's a huge thing for me now. And like, I haven't dated in 5 years. Like, I talk here and there or whatever, but like, I don't date because like, right when they say something that I'm like, kind of is like a red flag, I'm out. Yeah. Like if you're giving me a red flag and we're not even behind closed doors yet, what's going to happen when that mask comes off?
Right. And you're a little bit fearful. I would be fearful.
Completely. God. Now I have a 4-year-old.
And now you have something. Yeah.
So now I'm like, and my dad, he calls dad. That was just because I call my dad dad. So he just naturally took up on that. And so, but actually when we were heading to your house, I recorded it on Snapchat. He was praying last night for, how did he say, for a future husband for me that would be best buds with our dad.
Oh, that's cute.
And that's where we're at though, because someone's gonna have to be really special to take that position from my dad and then like really understand where casing came from too.
So that I think where I'm seeing where you got your trusting behavior from your dad. You trusted your dad. He's been your guy for your whole life. And then that you naturally we look for our fathers when they're women, our mothers when they're men. Yep. And so you expected this guy to be the same way.
Yeah, the provider, my dad took care of us. Like, that's all he's a workaholic, honestly, which most men I feel like are, but that was his job and he took it very seriously. We might not have had the newest, brightest things, but we had clothes. Right. We had, I had to work for my car, but I had a car, we had to fix it up. It wasn't the brand new car, but it built character. Yeah. I remember my car didn't have power steering. And I remember pulling into high school, and people would throw milkshakes on my car I was picked on. I was picked on, but I look back and I'm so proud of myself for how I handled it. It really hurt, but now the world is a big bully in a sense. Now I'm this ain't nothing. Bam, it's right. Yeah.
So where I was headed with that whole thing, we are going to get sidetracked so much. It's so good. So good. So guys, what I heard from her story last night was just, it's astounding. So our systems are set up to help people that are in this situation. She's getting away from an abusive situation. She made a mistake. She knows she made a mistake. She is a capable person of working, wants to work, has a career that she's been working. Mm-hmm. And what she needs is just a little bump, a little bit of help. Get me through this. Let me maybe go back to school for a little bit and find a job. You could find a job. Yeah. You just needed a little help getting the hell away from the situation. Yes. And because several reasons. Number one, you may have lived in a camper, but you don't look like you live in a camper. No. No.
And I actually love it.
Well, yeah, of course. And you should be proud of who you are, but you are the stereotypical, what the world hates right now. Yes. White woman. Yeah. You are blonde hair, blue eye, beautiful, smart.
I should not be struggling.
Exactly.
Yeah, I should not be struggling. And they look at me like.
And so you don't get help.
I mean, I do, but not as much as other people. Right. And that's where, I don't talk about my struggles as much as I probably should talk about my struggles, because it is embarrassing and I don't want pity. Right. So that's where, can I go on Facebook and make a GoFundMe and get all this help? Yeah, I probably should have, especially when I was little. But then, you get that pity and you get the sorries and you get but you also get the, she made, that and now she needs to lay in it. Right. So you get both and then both don't feel good. I don't want your pity and I don't want you to well,
you know what you have to do.
Yeah. I'm trying here. I'm making the steps. I babysat, I watch kids, I clean houses, I was making things, but my whole bottom line was my child comes first. And where the system is not meant to help single moms stay at home with their kids and raise their kids. They want daycares to raise your kids. Here you go, here's $60 or whatever, go put your kid in daycare and go from there. And that's not how I want to raise my kid. So that adds another obstacle course to go behind, because they're well, you could just put them in daycare. Well, no, I don't want my kid in daycare all day long with someone where, I don't know what their beliefs are. I don't know what's happening. We hear all the time about the abuse that happens in daycares, at home daycares and at other ones.
Not to mention the inoculation from somebody else's beliefs. And it doesn't have, we can take politics out of that, but absolutely. And my kids went to daycare. Yeah. And
I don't knock it for other people. It's just not how
your beliefs. Yeah. And so in order to do that, you have had to make sacrifices.
Completely.
And that's where you're at. And it's not like you're asking to be taken care of.
No.
In that moment, you just need a little bit of help to get out.
Yeah. I don't want a sugar daddy. I don't want to go sell my body on OnlyFans. I don't want to do all of these things that makes it so easy. That makes it so easy for people to get this money. Don't get me wrong. I've looked into avenues just to be able to stay at home with my son and raise him, because you get so low that you're okay, I need $100 and my bank account's negative 100. How can I make up that? And then I need gas to get to school. Yeah. Where do I make that happen?
It'd be so easy to take on a sugar daddy.
Oh my gosh.
Do a couple tricks here and there and off you go.
Yeah. And that's just not where I don't want to do that. And even when I was pipelining, I got turned away from a lot of jobs just for being a woman, but it's not just that. It's and I don't want to to my own horn, but attractive. If you go out there and you look like a man and whatever, they're okay, cool, she's here, she's not going to be a distraction, whatever.
Yeah.
And then you go out there. But my goal was to kick ass. My goal was to go out there, and half the time these guys would get like surprised. Like I remember when I got really comfortable in like my position as a welder helper, like I'd grab our bucket, our grinder, go down there and beat like all the guys down to like the pool. And, you know, it felt so good. Like they go, who's going to go cut that out or whatever. And I just go get the bevel machine and go down there, hook everything up. And I felt like such a badass. Like it was such a good feeling. And then like you have these little guys up there like, ooh, what? You know, like doing hot taps where you're like, it's on fire and you're like cutting through, you know, you just feel like a phoenix. You're like, yeah.
So
Uh-oh. The meeting is being recorded.
Oh, we're good with that. I wonder if it's still recording. It must be. So action again. So you were grown up pretty tough. You hunted, you did motocross.
Yep.
I mean, you were daddy's girl.
Yeah, it was really hard for my mom.
Yeah.
I loved all the boy things. I wanted to dress like my dad. I'd wear like the remember back in the 90s, those tacky white shoes, like, you know, like the little dad shoes, you know, are you wearing? No, those aren't it. Oh gosh, I think they were called like New Balance.
Oh yeah. Okay. I used to.
Yeah. Honestly, they're back in now, so I shouldn't call them tacky anymore. Yeah. But they were dyed green from him mowing the lawn with them. They were like his lawnmowers. And I remember like wanting shoes like that and like walking through the grass just to dye them green. Just, you know, those little things, you know, my dad has dyed green shoes from cutting the grass. I want that. Yeah. And anyway, he was, total daddy's girl. And, you know, and there was some things where that's where the proving yourself too, because, you know, my dad saw me as a girl too. So we kind of butted heads because I wanted to do all these rough and tough things. And he's like, well, you're also a girl. Right. So then you're like, well, I'm going to prove myself that I could do it. And pipelining was probably a big portion of that. Sure. Was like, watch me work. Yep. Like, you know.
Good for you.
Yeah.
So I was watching this thing on Ronda Rousey. Do you know who that is? The MMA fighter.
Yeah, I think he has like his own whole show or something.
It's a female fighter.
Oh, yeah, gosh, yes, I know who she is. Yeah.
So she basically got women into UFC.
Okay.
And Dana White literally he's like, never. And he now is taking his words back. He's like, she changed the game.
Oh, awesome.
But they said that she approached fighting and life like a man.
Okay.
In her head, like a man. Men approach life differently than women. We all know that.
Yeah.
And she approached everything in her life like a man would. Hard charge, go after it. And she fought with men. She, you know, trained with all of them. Yeah. You know, she thought like a man, but then she would get out of the ring and put on a dress, and she was gorgeous.
Okay. See, I don't know that much about her. Honestly, I don't really do that, but that's awesome. I wish I could make my brain more like that though. Because like, as in the sense of, I think you were trying to give me a compliment, but at the same time, like, I feel like after the abuse, that's where that has gone down. I think I had that before, but after the abuse, now I'm like, ooh, you know, like what we're talking about, like that fear portion is in there. And like, I'm just like,
yeah, it's like having a car accident in the middle of an intersection. Yeah. Every time you go through that intersection,
you're like,
car accident.
And you tense up. Yeah, exactly. And so now, before, where I would walk in and like, you know, tell them my life story and like how I want this job or whatever. And now I'm kind of like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't talk about that. Maybe I should downplay myself or whatever. And it's been a really big learning lesson. A lot of like healing mentally. Yeah. I mean, once you go through abusive, I'd rather be punched in the face than deal with mental abuse.
Oh yeah. For sure.
It is, because you don't see it. And then it's hard to like, because, you know, physical abuse, it heals and it goes away. The mental abuse is there and no one sees it. So no one knows you're struggling. Right. Like if you have a black eye, oh, so sorry for you. Right. Mental abuse, they're like, oh, she looks fine. Yeah. And you're just struggling. You're crying every night. And
so when I was growing up, we had a rule between me and my brother. We'd never hit each other in the face. Okay. Because to us, we didn't want the physical on our outside show. We were suffering and abuse on the inside, but nobody would know. And so it would keep people away. Yeah. You know, and that's what abusers learn to do. They learn to to they learn to deal with the abuse.
Yes.
One way or another.
Yep.
So if you'd rather have it on the outside,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody still thinks you have your shit together.
Mm-hmm. And that could be a guy versus a girl thing too, like mentally.
Maybe.
Where I don't know, like the physical pain heals to me so much faster than the mental. And like after taking psychology classes and all these stuff, I still feel like I have a better handle on it. I feel like I know where I want to go now with my mental health and whatnot. And there's a stigma around mental health as in it being a horrible, like, oh, they're so sick.
Yeah.
And they're so, like they're going to go kill someone. They're so mentally crazy. And really it's not that. It is a, okay, they're dealing with this. They're going to go to the next step. And, we're just trying, and I think it's getting better in this day and age. I think people are recognizing that it's just people trying to grow and learn past that abuse or whatever caused them to get to the point of having self-doubt and their worth kind of ripped from them.
Yeah.
It's trying to get back to those things.
Yep.
And it's really hard work.
It is. It's a long, painstaking, hard work.
Yeah.
It also, you need others to help.
Completely. You need a support system, and that's what I lacked in.
Yeah, exactly. You were on your own.
Yep. I mean, I had family, I had friends, but when I pipelined, everyone's all over America. No one, like I had a couple good friends in where we were when I was like pregnant, and for the first 2 years of Kayson's life, I lived with my dad, and then we got the camper.
Yeah.
Now we're rocking that, and now I'm trying to figure out. I feel like this last year after the beginning of the protective order was like groundbreaking for us. I feel like because then he couldn't mentally abuse me anymore.
Right.
And so with that shut off completely, I have been like,
now you can heal.
Yeah. And I'm more awake. I'm like, okay, let's go. I'm tired, but I'm like, okay, let's do this. The next thing. And that's why I reached out to you guys and was like, okay, let's get some ideas here.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
I love it. I think you're headed in the right ground. There's the man right there.
No, turned off.
Kayson, say hi.
Can you say hi?
Okay, so, and now, you're still in it. You're still, you're still suffering. You're still growing. You're still trying to repair what happened.
Mm-hmm. And the sacrifices are still, I started over.
Yeah.
As a lady with a young child.
Yeah, now you have a kid.
Yeah. It's way harder. No more walking into Chili's or Applebee's asking for a job. And, because then, you have to pay for daycare. And then, after working there and paying for daycare, it's like a wash.
Right.
And that's what people don't really talk about. Like, I don't have a mom and dad that can watch my kid all day. So I can go work and make money and not pay for something. Or even if I want to go out for the weekend, I think I've gone out 2 times. My son's 4.5. Notes.
Yeah. So I like to keep it, like off the cuff. Yeah. So the show is called Ditches to Riches. Mm-hmm. Those are your ditches, and you're starting to just peek your head over the other side. Yeah. And you're opening up. Like to reach out to us I was telling her, I'm like, I don't even know that we made that big of a impact in your life that you would be like, hey, I'm coming by. I'm like, oh, that's cool, but okay, cool.
No, you guys were just so awesome. Like, you guys just were so relaxed while running the business, and you were really someone to look up to. Oh. And you guys were constantly happy while running a business, while doing all these things, running around town, all that stuff. And I think that was just stuff. And then you guys are both funny. Yeah. You like to crack some jokes and you'll make everyone happy. And I think that's kind of like my personality. Yeah. And so I just attached to that. And even throughout the years, we've stayed in Facebook contact and whatnot. And I watch you guys, go doing all these new things. And I'm like, man, I want to do that too. But that's not for me. I can't do that. You know what I mean?
But it is for you.
Yeah. And
so we discussed that. You're now, so the riches part.
Yes.
Okay. There's your ditches. Now you're on the other side and you're starting to look at your riches. For me, it's relationships and time with people. For you, what would your ideal riches be?
Probably, raising my son myself, not daycare. That would be the biggest rich. Okay. Honestly, and then after that, it would be helping other people, from building relationships to actually seeing a single mom like me get to that next step.
Yeah.
You know, where now it's going to be like that the waterfall effect is probably seeing myself and other people and then watching them get over that hump. 100%. I think that makes my heart just like, ooh, I want to do it. I want to help.
You're not worried about being a billionaire or a millionaire.
No, I could really care less about nice things.
Yeah.
Honestly, don't get me wrong. I love nice things. You know, I save up money to buy the nice thing for quality purposes usually. Right. But if I find something that's cheaper with the same quality, I'm going to go with that. I'm not going to do the name brand thing.
Right.
So do I want a nice car? I would like to upgrade from where I'm at right now. Like, you know, sure. I would maybe a truck again, like go back to what I kind of had, you know, upgrade to a nicer camper one day. But, you know, I want to travel. I want to get my hands dirty. I want to be involved. I want to be around people. If that takes off, then maybe finally settle down and build a house one day and whatnot. But right now I just want to travel and help.
Yeah. Well, and that's cool. And you are on a travel right now because you are heading to South Dakota?
No, Washington.
Oh, Washington.
Well, we're going to go to Montana.
Montana. That was what I was looking for.
Montana, and then we'll be in Washington State. And Lord knows what will happen after that.
You've been traveling your butt off.
Yeah, this last year, ever since I got the protective order, we have been like, I felt safer because now if he touches me or anything happens, I have a piece of paper that was like, bam, you know, he did it. He crossed the line and it's not me.
Right.
It's not my fault. And so we went to California for Christmas in 2020, and we've basically been gone on the road since, like seeing everyone, like Case and finally got to meet people that he hasn't like never got to meet or see other people. Like the only state I think we're missing right now is Georgia and Pennsylvania. So sorry to all those people who we have not been able to see yet.
It's a long ways away.
It is. I'm kind of tired of house hopping. You know, I can't afford hotels, so you know, I'm relying on, you know, friends and family to house us, and that's a lot to ask for long time periods. And, you know what I mean. So when we're there for, I feel like, you know, my dad always said at arts, it seems like after 9 days, you know, you start to stink kind of a thing. And so it's true, and I actually noticed that, and you can tell when people are like, okay. When are you gonna get going? And they're not gonna say that to me, but you can kind of feel it. And so then, you know, okay, let's go on this. Even though I'm like exhausted and I'm like, oh, I haven't been sleeping good. And like, okay, we gotta go. We gotta find someone else and spend some time with them, get going, do the fun stuff. And next city.
Well, we have family night tonight, and you're more than welcome to be here for that. You're more than welcome to stay another night.
That would be awesome.
And so the show's only a half hour. We kind of went over, but that's okay. We thought it would go longer than that. But I think we need to have words of wisdom from you to maybe some young ladies out there. Something they should know before they get involved with men, especially maybe some men in the workplace.
See how they are around their moms and sisters.
Oh, wonderful. That
has been a big eye opener. If they are comfortable disrespecting their mom, even if their mom is someone that is off kilter, oversteps those boundaries, how they handle that is huge. Like if their mom oversteps a boundary and they can politely put that boundary back in place, that is a man you want. If this guy starts freaking out, cussing her out, he's going to do that to you.
Yeah.
And that's been my biggest thing. I'm like, because not all guys, you know, we lose loved ones, you know, so not everyone has a sister or a mom to really, but, you know, they got cousins, they got girlfriends, you know, they got someone that they love, and if they love that person and they're comfortable disrespecting them, that's
a problem.
It's going to basically how it's going to happen to you.
I think that's a great plan. I think that's good for little ladies. You hear that, little ladies? Don't marry the dumbass. Okay?
Don't do it. Run away.
All right. Anything else you want to say?
No.
How do we find you? Just kidding. That's usually what I say.
We don't have that yet. We're not at that point yet.
She is going to do something that is going to make her come back on and have something to get to do. So
one day.
I think you will. I do. You're a dreamer. We talked about that last night. You're a dreamer. And all you need is an executor now, and you'll be good to go.
We'll figure it out.
All right. Okay, kiddo, we'll see you later, and we're done.
Thank you for tuning in to Sons of Ditches. For more information, go to my website, ronworley.com, and my YouTube channel, Sons of Ditches. Facebook, Ron L. Worley, or Instagram at Ronald L. Worley II.